only national park within the capital city in this world. Actually, I am telling all the people that if you are in the airport and you are stranded, don't sleep on the floor. Just get out of the airport, jump in on a car and go around Nairobi National Park, enjoy seeing the animals and the good scenery, have lunch, and just go back to the airport.
Get fresh, gotta get fresh.
Down is the boom boom pow, down is boom boom pow. The fire now uchaguzi na zidi na improve down ni protect nguo zangu na dukia niko safi. Lazima niwe fresh na down is boom boom pow. Boom boom pow, down is the boom boom pow. Zote na zi boom boom pow, powerful freshness. Down is boom boom pow.
Millions are watching.
Ilichapisha ripoti inayochunguza sakata la kansa na kusema kuwa
Eyes to follow. You talk, we listen.
The speaker made a communication that ultimately he doesn't want to have two parallel bills.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila
members who are members of
Sonar
parliament.
County Assembly has become the first assembly.
SRC iliweza kupitisha mswada.
Kenyatta kwa kuja na hii program ya kusaidia.
Kenyans have had to dig deeper since the government is in a tight financial spot owing to COVID-19 measures that were removed.
President and deputy president, 80%.
It's training.
Following the declaration of the vacancy of the position of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya,
It's Maisha Television.
Good afternoon and thank you so much for tuning in to Maisha Television. This is Maisha Live at 1. My name is Rida Chebet.
Live from Maisha Television, this is Maisha Live at 1 with Rida Chebet.
Deputy President William Ruto has challenged politicians to strike alliance based on ideologies rather than seemingly tribal political affiliations as the 2022 general election draws nearer. Ruto's comments on tribal affiliations followed the announcement of a new alliance bringing together the Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi, the Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, and KANU chairman Gideon Moi. The four party leaders ganged up this week and launched an aggressive campaign for their candidates in Matungu, Kabuchai, and Machakos by-election with success in the three polls much needed as a foreshadow of their political futures.
with the looming of a new alliance formation by the ANC, Wiper, KANU, and Ford Kenya party leaders, Deputy President William Ruto has insisted on walking the journey towards 2022 without intimidation and fear of being alone.
Even if I remain alone, I am walking this journey. Hata wale wakikusanyana pale wamekusanyana. Na ni vizuri wameanza mapema, sasa nimeona wamejipanga hapo. Sasa wafanye hiyo kazi ya seminar na conference na retreat, wamalize haraka ndio watuambie candidate yao ya tribal chiefs ni nani. Sisi mahasla pande hii tumejipanga.
Ruto has maintained his position of championing for creation of employment opportunities to cut down the levels of poverty in the country.
We must have the formula to create wealth, to create jobs, to create opportunity. The greater goal for us is to find the formula to create opportunity and to create jobs and to create wealth and to make sure that everybody works.
He says the formula to create employment and job opportunities will be anchored on making sure that the poor people are included in the country's economic cycle.
That for that Kenya, and for us to get our country moving, we must get the formula to create jobs, the formula to create opportunity, the formula to create wealth, and that formula will be anchored on making sure that the 16 million Kenyans who neither have a job nor a business are recruited into the cycle of our economy through the creation of those jobs and opportunities.
The Deputy President has criticized the notion of tribalism with political leaders, saying that such an ideology cannot keep the country moving forward.
And to get that solution, you don't need tribal leaders. You don't need tribal ideas. You don't need ethnic chiefs. You need visionary Kenyans who can think for Kenya as a Kenyan unit. And that is what we need to do.
Courageously, the Deputy President has hit at his competitors, terming them as ethnic chiefs and people who have no idea of where the country is headed to.
And that's why I'm very passionate about this. Even if I remain alone, I am walking this journey. Hata wale wakikusanyana pale wamekusanyana. Hata wale wakikusanyana pale wamekusanyana pale kwa kona. No problem. Because I know all of them. Si mimi najua hiyo watu wote. They have no clue where this country is supposed to go. They have no idea. I promise they don't have it. Let us compete. If you have good ideas, why do you need the police? Why do you need blackmail? Why do you need intimidation? If you have better ideas, sell them to the people of Kenya.
Gilbert Nalwa, Maisha TV.
And now on to sad news. A Form 3 student in Bungoma County has been reported dead after an abortion operation turned tragic. The student was schooling at Tulugui Secondary School and died trying to abort 8 months baby. This comes at a time when early pregnancy have increased among schoolgirls since schools were closed and reopened due to the coronavirus pandemic. In a span of 3 months period, there was 40% increase in the number of teen pregnancy in Kenya, with over 150,000 pregnancies reported. According to World Health Organization, pregnancy and childbirth are the leading causes of death for girls aged between 15 years and 19 globally. And the Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga has asked his MPs and senators to distance themselves from the draft bill meant to punish those preaching the hustler narrative. In a fresh press release on Wednesday, Mr. Odinga urged that making a law for one person was in itself illegal and short-lived. He also made an appeal to all legislators to heed to his advice and steer clear from such plans so that Ruto can continue with his way of doing things. Dishon Amanya has the details.
The Deputy President William Ruto has partially agreed with Raila Odinga's defense of his hustler narrative. However, on his Twitter handle, the DP criticizes Raila Odinga's misunderstanding of the hustler narrative, saying that they will work tirelessly to get hustler narrative positively understood. The political scene has been awash with political rhetorics of hustler versus dynasty that has since set emotions and tongues wagging. Those in support are claiming that the aim is to bridge the long-existing gap between the poor and the rich, whereas their rivals in the political scene are basing their arguments on class war basis.
Alafu kile ukisimama kwenye jukwaa watuambia baba akisema right right, baba akisema left left. Ataweza kweli? Ataweza kweli?
In this regard, a bill crafted by lawmaker Paul Koinange, the chair of the Parliament National Security Committee, the bill proposes stringent measures to be taken to those found capable of the use of the phrase that include a 5-year jail term and disqualification from holding a public office. In a rare move, ODM leader Raila Odinga, in a statement, said the bill would return the country back to the retrogressive days where freedom of speech was non-existent. Odinga said he strongly appealed to members of parliament to drop any attempts to the legislature against this deadly slogan and allow the Deputy President William Ruto to continue with his campaigns without being inhibited. President Kenyatta is among those who have cautioned the use of slogan as it propagates divisive politics, with his most recent rebuttal of the narrative evoking a nationwide conversation.
Wale ambao waliongea kama unachoka na familia hii, unachoka na familia hii, sasa ni nafasi sijui ya nani. Basi kama hiyo ndio thinking ama logic, hata mimi naweza nisimame hapa basi niseme kuna jamii tu mbili za Kenya ambazo zimetawala, labda ni nafasi ya jamii nyingine pia kutawala.
Raila Odinga, on the other hand, said it should be the duty of all Kenyans who feel angered with the narrative to educate Kenyans on the need to stay off the dynasty and hustler conversation. Deputy President William Ruto, while agreeing to Odinga's statements, said Odinga has misunderstood the hustler narrative and will soon embark to educate Kenya on the need to have a hustler narrative understood. For Kenya, use of slogan is not a new thing, as politicians would most often use slogans that tend to resonate with their country's electorate in a bid toward them support their agenda by voting them in. Giving Kenya a political landscape that is mostly campaign in tribal alignment ends up being catastrophic. Dishon Amanya, Maisha TV.
And former anti-corruption agency boss Halake Wako has been named in the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA scandal involving supply of COVID-19 equipment. This was after it emerged that the 347 million paid to a firm to supply of face masks was done through a bank account. Wako, the former CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC, Soki Brenda reports.
Former Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC boss Halake Wako has been dragged into the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA scandal. While appearing before Public Investments Committee of National Assembly, directors of Ajak Commercial Services told the Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir-led committee that Wago was used as a signatory in one of the banks where 347 shillings Kenya million was wired for supply of COVID-19 related commodities, where billions of money is said to have been looted. Caller Zubeda Nyamulendo, a middle-aged woman with a red Marvin which she appeared, walked into the parliament to the committee of the Public Investments Peak for KEMSA scandal grilling.
So my question is, did you maybe write a letter of offer informing KEMSA that you have some face masks and they're going for this much?
It was verbal communication. I went there. I told them that I was able to supply.
What made you walk to KEMSA?
So because we had pre-qualifications in KEMSA, yeah. So I
for furniture.
Yes. And they deal with medical supplies. Yeah, and they supply medicine for almost half of Kenya. So I decided to go there and ask. So I went to the office. There was nothing written.
The shy-looking lady told the parliament how she got the multi-million tender.
So who did you go and see there?
The procurement officer, Charles Juma.
Okay. How does Charles Juma look like?
He's big, black, and old. When we took the sample, after 4 days, they gave us the commitment letter. That was it. So it was up to us to supply.
So you just went there, you told them verbally, I can supply business worth 347,515,000. You offered them the price that this is what you can be able to supply. And in 4 days, you were given a commitment letter worth 350 million shillings.
Yes, they said that it was an emergency procurement and they needed it as an emergency.
And when things got thick, she blew the whistle, dragging in the former Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC boss Halake Wako as part of the signatories where 347 million Kenya shillings was wired for the supply of the face mask.
First Community.
So at First Community Bank, at the period of this payment and everything else, the signatories was who and who?
It was me, Fanis Adingo Nditi.
And who?
Fanis Adingo. Yeah. And Mr. Halake Wako.
Now with that, Chairman, it confirms my fears. Were you working on in collusion with other people, senior people in the government, who are very influential? What was your answer?
No, it wasn't even that.
How did you said who is Wako? How did he come in? Halaki Wako. How did he come in?
Assistance.
Which kind of assistance? Because you have already been paid. Yeah? How did he come to be a signatory?
Maybe what position does he hold in the company so that he becomes one of the signatory during the payments?
Because the bank needed a security.
Reporting for Maisha Television, my name is Soki Brenda.
Kisii Deputy Governor Joash Mangi's official vehicle was on Wednesday evening torched by angry mob after it hit and killed boda rider and his passenger in Ololunga in Narok County. The motorcyclist, Mr. John Saanyo, and his 8-year-old son died on the spot after being knocked down by the governor's vehicle. According to the Narok South Sub-County Police Commissioner Chebe Kiambere, the vehicle, a Toyota Prado, was headed to towards Narok from Bomet, where the angry area residents blocked the Bomet-Narok highway for hours and later torched Mangi's vehicle. The deputy governor also confirmed that his vehicle was involved in a head-on collision with the boda.
Few days ago, the Kisii deputy governor was arrested by the claims that he was planning a violence to disrupt people at the funeral of the late Simeon Nyachae, who was a minister alongside the South Mugirango Member of Parliament Silvana Zosoro. Yesterday at night, the Kisii Deputy Governor Joash Mangi's official vehicle was set ablaze by members of the public, and this was led by the death of the two people at Ololunga in Narok County at around 7 p.m. According to the sources, it said that Mangi was on his way to Nairobi, and the said vehicle had only 3 occupants at the time, and they managed to escape unhurt, and a well-wisher drove him all the way to safety. The explanation behind that accident is that the boda came to the road unexpectedly, with the driver trying to avoid hitting the rider before the unfortunate incident happened. The deputy governor is said to be together with his driver and a bodyguard. Reporting for Maisha Television, my name is Soki Brenda.
How are you?
Fine.
What are you doing here?
Candice,
what's that?
I brought you a small bonus.
Bonus for what?
Daddy said you helped us get a house, a car, and Mommy's business. But I only helped them get the loans. You did more than that. You got us 299 family dinners, 64 kisses on the cheek, 12 road trips to see Grandma, 42 jokes from Daddy, 49 laughs from Mommy.
In over 60 years of dealing with numbers, we've learned that the numbers that matter the most to you are the ones that matter the most to us. NCBA Bank. Go for it.
Get fresh, gotta get fresh.
Down is the boom boom pow, down is boom boom pow. Mabaya na uchafuzi na zidi na improve down ni protect nguo zangu na dukia niko safi. Lazima niwe fresh na down is boom boom pow. Boom boom pow, down is the boom boom pow. So tena the boom boom pow, powerful freshness. Down is boom boom pow.
Millions are watching.
Ilichapisha ripoti inayochunguza sakata la kensa na kusema kuwa
You talk, we listen.
The speaker made a communication that ultimately he doesn't want to have two parallel bills.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila,
members who are members of
Sonar
parliament.
County Assembly has become the first assembly
SRC iliweza kupitisha mswada.
So, Kenyatta kwa kuja na hii program ya kusaidia.
Kenyans have had to dig deeper since the government is in a tight financial spot owing to COVID-19 measures that were removed.
President and Deputy President, 80%.
Following the declaration of the vacancy of the position of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya,
It's Maisha Television. Use it, watch it, and love it.
Live from Maisha Television, this is Maisha Live at 1 with Reader Karim Shabbat.
And President Uhuru Kenyatta made changes in his cabinet on Wednesday, February 17, 2021. He made new appointments and some realignments in various ministries. President Uhuru said the changes are meant to foster operational efficiency, institutionalize and expedite the implementation of various groundbreaking reforms, and introduce functional changes that shall make ministries and state departments more effective and better able to deliver on their mandates. The circular about the new changes was issued by the head of public service, Joseph Kinyua. The circular stated that the changes were effective immediately. The education PS, Belio Kipsang, and the CAS in the same ministry, Zak Kinuthia, were removed from the education docket. Dr. Richard Belio Kipsang was reassigned as the permanent secretary in the State Department for Regional and Northern Corridor Development, while Mr. Zak Kinuthia Mugure was reassigned as the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Sport, Culture and Heritage. Ms. Winnie Guchu is the new CAS in the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, and Gideon Mungaro is now in the Ministry of Devolution and ASALs. Among the people who have been appointed as Chief Administrative Secretaries are David Osianyim, Professor Jafet Ntiba Micheni, and Dr. Sarah Ruto. Following the hike of petroleum price, the agency has urged stakeholders to review the draft regulations and give comments, suggestions and concerns on the draft, midstream and downstream of petroleum regulation. They have reaffirmed that the authority will take into considerations all the stakeholders' comments and concerns before adoption of the regulations. Victoria Magar has the details.
The new petroleum regulations will operationalize the Petroleum Act of 2019. The various sets of regulations will affect how players in the midstreams and downstream subsectors will operate. The new guidelines include a review of the fuel pricing formula, in which they have factored in new components that might see pump prices go up.
We have 10 regulations that have been in existence. There has been a need to look at them, to align them to the new legislation, which is the 2 acts of 2019. We've been able to do that. There is one also regulation, which is the lubricants regulation, as you may have seen, which is a new entrant, which we will wish to get your feedback on. These draft regulations look at the inadequacies of these regulations. We're trying to plug the gaps. Some of the key highlights include increased fines and penalties for offenses, increased power for the authority to be able to demolish illegal facilities.
The regulations have also revealed the minimum operating stocks that oil marketing companies are required to maintain, as well as a different approach to operating the strategic petroleum reserves.
This is not only a process which we want to.
And now in Maisha business news, farmers are now opting for alternative avenues to prop income, as section of Western Kenya farmers have now abandoned cane for coffee, as Patricia Alangwa reports.
The government has been asked to step in and resuscitate collapsing subsector in agriculture, as frustrated farmers are left with no options but to choose between poorly performing crops in an effort to prop their revenues. A picture has been painted on how sugarcane farmers are now trying their hand at coffee despite its equally subdued performance. For many farmers in Kenya's western region, sugarcane is one of the most common sources of livelihood. But in recent years, the sweet sugarcane has started to leave a bitter taste of low returns in their mouths, as the collapse of sugar factories in the region left many with no markets for their produce. Maize, the only option remaining, is also not doing any better, forcing the farmers to seek refuge in coffee, as prices in the global market have been in a general rise from an average of 258 in October last year to 282 in January this year, marking an increase.
Kabla nianze kupanda kahawa nilikuwa mkulima wa mahindi na miwa. Lakini haijanisaidia sana kusomesha watoto. Ama katika maisha ya maendeleo nimekuwa chini sana. Lakini wakati nimepata kahawa naona ya kwamba niko napatilika ama napata mapatiliko.
Hii ni sababu ya wakulima kuwa desperate. Unajua wakiona kama hii
hii mmea haiwezi kutoa mapato mazuri. Kile inafanyika ni kwamba wakulima wanakimbilia kitu kingine.
In Eastern region, the story is also similar. Some farmers abandon horticulture and other crops in favor of dairy farming, which they say it's lucrative and less risky.
At our place, we are selling that shillings per liter or per kilo. And if a cow can produce 50 kg, then you keep around 5 animals. When you go and sell that one, you don't get money every day. Not like other crops. Other crops you keep for you wait at least for 3 months. Then after selling, that is the end.
In farming, just like any other business, it's all about the returns. Reporting for Maisha TV, I'm Patricia Alwanga.
And that's all you had for Maisha Live at 1. My name is Rida Chebet.
Ilichapisha ripoti inayochunguza sakata la Kensa na kusema kuwa
You talk, we listen.
The speaker made a communication that ultimately he doesn't want to have parallel bills.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila
members who are members of parliament.
County Assembly has become the first assembly.
SRC iliweza kupitisha mswada.
Kenyatta kwa kuja na hii program ya kusaidia.
Kenyans have had to dig deeper since the government is in a tight financial spot owing to COVID-19 measures that were removed.
President and Deputy President, 80%.
Following the declaration of the vacancy of the position of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya,
It's Maisha Television. Choose it, watch it, and love it.